Hello and welcome to Pivot with PJ. This is your host PJ. Vivian, thanks for being here today. It's a pleasure to have you here with me in this episode. What is design for you?
Everybody is a designer. Somebody may solve a problem of.
I want to put a little bit of spotlight on the design as being the human in the center of the design process.
Never a designer who's delivering the experience.
Where do we draw the boundaries?
You can draw the boundaries by understanding the requirements shouldn't be collected single-handedly.
I'm PJ and I'm here to navigate the bends of the roads with you. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get on this ride together on Pivot with PJ.
What is the role of design, you think, or the designer in crafting business strategies at the highest levels? So I understand you said the goals are not fully evolved or baked when you start the process, but then as the senior leaders of the organization or leaders of or whatever initiative, they need to strategize to some point, and how design plays a role in that process of crafting a strategy.
Actually, there's a anecdote I use. In fact, I use a picture. Zubin Mehta. I don't know if you've heard of, or conductor of a symphony. Have you seen? They have the
Right.
little stick, and
Yeah.
they do. So there are all these, hundreds of excellent musicians in groups, categories. Some of them single. They do. The designer's role is somewhat like that, or the coach on the field. You
Hmm.
have to be hands-on at the same time hands-off to just let
Right.
people give that little twist and say, okay, do it. And only the person who knows that twist will do. Rest of them will keep quiet. So
Right.
that is the kind of a role of a designer to
Hmm.
do. Even in HDFC Ergo, my role and my colleague's role, who works with me, we just enabled people at different levels, and I just stepped back, and even the leaders, and thankfully the design thinking that we used initially to identify and go specific to the problem, we took that to implement. We all played the role. The leadership played the role of just being the anchors to get in only when required. Let the team do their job. They were all in real good sync. You add the grease only when there's a little bit of squeaking sound, right? Otherwise, you let the engines run.
Right. And it's so beautiful when you feel so much empowered about being a designer. And I've worked with a lot of designers myself in my field, right? But most of it is approached transactionally, right?
Sadly, yeah.
But when I hear you say a designer can be the conductor of the symphony or be a coach of a team who kind of you know call designs the play, but then lets the team kind of figure out, being a coach from the sidelines, right? Figure out what needs to happen on the ground. So I think this push and pull dance that the designer has to do with, whether it is the team's manager, or it's the quarterback, or the defensive back, whoever that is, right? I think the role, looking at the role of a designer as a coach or a conductor, is very beautiful. I've not worked with many designers who've seen themselves that way, per se, right? I wonder why. I mean, is it because of lack of awareness about what the role can impact, or is it? What do you think it is?
The problem is, even I faced it when I was beginning, is the letting go. So designers
Uh,
normally don't let go of the design that they have and let it. It's like children find it difficult to let their children go and live by themselves when they have to go to college or work, right? Very
right.
difficult, particularly in India. So in US it's different. In 17 year you're kicked out. 18 year, I mean, and you go live your life, kind of a thing. Not really everywhere, but on a lighter
Yeah.
side of things. I'm talking about this.
Right.
No offense to anybody. So the first problem is holding up to your design and not letting it, prove itself. Because
Hmm.
if it is what you think it is, it'll survive and it'll, make its way right through. That is very important to look at that. And the other one, although I gave you the example and you loved, I know you loved. Look at it really. There's a movie I don't remember about a drummer and his coach and how difficult that coach is. Actually, all coaches are very difficult because they pull some people. They really give them a sound, strict guidance, or probably I don't shout, but I'm just saying you get down to real grassroots levels of fearful discussions sometimes, and you want to be on the team, you want to be in the part of the challenges you're solving. So, a conductor or a coach is really hard. At the same time, they're like a parent and guiding and bringing them on and off. So that is very important for designers. If that is done, you're set free because in your mind you're not holding on to design. The portfolio you do, okay, as a startup, when you're starting your career, it's fine. But when you're mature, 5, 10 years later, it's always a collective way, and it's how you have impacted to let the design be successful. Others, it'll be like that Coursera experience I told you, or
Right.
that imploded version of something. And there are hundreds other products which Blackberries and
Mm.
Nokias and whatnot, which prove that the people held back. They didn't want to ask people. They want to talk. They say, okay, what I say is the right thing. That actually is not the right thing.
It's fantastic. I think the idea of letting go to for the design to take life, kind of bring it to life, is very very powerful. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Design on its own is meaningless unless it is brought to life, and there
Correct.
is the village that needs to come together for that, right? And also one more thing I'm thinking, as a coach or as a conductor, it's important for you to understand the strengths and limitations of all the players and their
Absolutely.
roles, and when which player to use in what play, when to play the drum or the bass guitar or whatever, right? The analogy. um, it also means that being able to constantly mentor the team, while being a coach and calling the play and being able to empower them. It's also important while off the field, mentoring them and working on the limitations or honing the strengths and all of that. Is it also part of the designer's job, you think, or am I taking it too far?
No, you're right. Absolutely right there, PJ. Because what happens is, if I didn't, so what needs to be done? Let's talk about that. As a designer, as you, okay, you're going to be off, but you're also at the same time in trend, hands on, and you're guiding people. How will you guide if you have no knowledge? So
Right.
it is very important for a designer, and the age is not there. By the way, by the time you're 6 months to a year in experience, anybody can be designer. We established that, right? Second is constantly being updated on what can be applied,
Right.
not the whole thing that today digital media supplies you on your phone, right? But to see, okay, for my specific role, what is it that I want to build the skill. So teaching yourself also is very important. If anybody feels that they've learned, no, that's the end of their career. So
Mm.
no, I know it all, I'm done. No, I used to do hand drawn fonts before the age of computers and take them
Wow.
on a camera and build happy birthday. And I used to work for Hallmark, and it used to take probably a whole day to write that just happy birthday in a particular style, because you have to make it this big H, and then finally it is so small, and there's a whole process. I'll skip that. But the idea is that from those days to today, just giving a prompt driven design and AI producing a picture for you, uh, is so many paradigm shifts and closures of businesses that I've seen in my own life. So, like for example, 3 months ago, I hard trained myself with some coaching from people who are experts to form my own GPT. Means
Hmm.
a clone version of the way I would design or the way I would write, putting my
Right.
data, of course, on a private server and all of that things, privacy or how that is to be
Yeah.
done,
You
just to
created
learn
a
how
custom
this works.
GPT or something. Yeah.
Yeah, custom GPT, paid version, how it works, buying GPU, CPU, all of those things, and saying, okay, if I do this solutioning for somebody else, can I just talk off my heart because I read about GPT 0, 40 or 40 as of two, three
Yeah.
days ago,
Yeah. Just
or
came out
whatever
like a
that
day or
may be.
two back.
I sound good, okay, I have a lot of knowledge, but if somebody says, okay, here's a project, do it, I shouldn't be shocked or, saying, okay, who do I run to?
Right.
Hey, PJ, can you do this? No. So it's very important to train and be resilient. That's where the difference comes for the designer and coaches. That you go
Hmm.
back, you learn, and then you come and you can do the job. I don't know if I've
Hmm.
answered your question there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So there are two aspects to uh, off the field learning. One is the designers themselves kind of upskilling and constantly evolving, and then the designer also enabling the teams to constantly upskill and evolve
It's
in
like
their
watching
roles.
playoffs or some other music to see,
Yeah,
how it's done by others. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.